Guys, what's up? Finalizing setup here. And we have liftoff. What's up, guys? Well, nothing really happened this week, so I guess we'll just wrap up early. Yeah. In case you haven't noticed, guys, Preon is live. Preon has launched. And I think Sim put it the best way possible when he said the era of the ecosystem has begun. I love that phrase. The best way I think we can describe it is Preon is like one of the middle big cogs in this giant clock that is Sphere. And now that it is in place, I mean, there's just so many things that can trickle into place in addition. So, it's cool. And it's just cool. So there are the official links in the Discord after you select Preon as a project. Please, please, please be careful to only use official links, guys. We have those links in the Preon Discord area. We have the documents there. We have the contracts there. So please only use those. Direct people to use those as well. The last thing we want to do, right, is have people get caught up in false information or a false website. That would not be good. So please, yes, go as T1 said, select project to make sure you're using the appropriate links. The next epoch flips in just a couple of hours, and we will see some interesting incentives for Star coming out with that, of course, on Kronos as one of our partners. So keep an eye out for that, which also reminds me to give my weekly reminder to please check your YL Sphere to see if you have any unlocks this epoch. So if you do, be sure to either withdraw or relock in order to avoid getting kicked from the yield pool. Weekly disclaimer, let's move on. So in terms of incentivizing, the really exciting thing here is what's known as bribe recycling. And something that we've said many different times is that typically $1 in bribes will yield more than $1 in emissions. So knowing that, and of course with different testing, making sure that that's happening week by week, we can bribe, claim our profit, and then bribe even more, and rinse and repeat that process. So that's exciting. And in the meantime, and hopefully this will be closing out in just a couple hours because of additional incentives, but there is some Star liquidity on Uniswap for those who need it. Though this may be integrated and migrated once DEX incentives are live. Regardless, there is also always the PSM, or Peg Stability Module, which can also be used to swap LUSD with Star and vice versa. This is one-to-one slippage free, but with a 1% fee. So this is another way to ensure that the peg of Star is maintained, and also to ensure that everyone has the ability to swap tokens as needed. We are also preparing the proposals for Balancer and Aura, so that those collateral options that we've talked about, the whole deposit into Balancer, take the Balancer BPT, put it in Dyson, Dyson will farm and amplify through Aura, take the Dyson receipt token, collateralize it into Preon, and amplify yield. We're working on that. Will take more time to establish because those require proposals, but it is in the pipeline. And of course, there are many other interesting collateral options that we can potentially use to amplify yield for users. And we are collaborating with multiple DEXs as well in order to get that done. So one example that Sim mentioned yesterday in chat was that on Polygon, we're exploring Dyson with Retro, formerly Satin, and their concentrated liquidity positions. So hopefully you can start to see like how many other additional pieces can just fall into place now that we actually have the tool set, kind of the whiteboard is finally set up and we can finally start to write on it. Overall, our focus is on productive assets, like yield-bearing assets, such that we can route them through Dyson, and this will enable borrowers to borrow more over time as their collateral grows. It also obviously increases and boosts the TVL of Dyson and Preon. It provides the Sphere Treasury and the Preon Treasury with performance fees, and it's just all around good for the Sphere ecosystem. You may have noticed that we're already working on implementing some improvements to the user experience, some minor bug fixes, and of course we'll have more updates on the way. Now, one of the biggest things about Preon, other than of course how users can amplify yield, is that the Sphere Treasury itself can use it, meaning the Sphere Treasury can take its assets, collateralize it on Preon, earn yield from that underlying strategy, and then turn and use the borrowed star in additional yield farming strategies. So, for example, say $10 million is being farmed, that can be collateralized at 50% LTV for an additional 5 million star, which can then be yield farmed, turning that 10 million farming into 15 million farming. So just another way to amplify the yield that the Sphere ecosystem is able to manage and produce. And again, as I mentioned, with the collateral being farmed either from or through Dyson, this means more TVL for the entire Sphere ecosystem, and ultimately, again, meaning more yield for Spherians. So again, this is why Preon is such a massive cog in this clock that is the Sphere ecosystem. And like we've said recently, even though this is so big for us, it's also just the beginning, which is very exciting. You may have seen also that Preon is coming soon to Polygon, so that we can begin the cross-chain compatibility. And as such, there will be isolated stability pools for each chain. And you will be able to mint on Arbitrum, bridge to Polygon, and vice versa. And interestingly, the star token address is the exact same for both chains, thanks to the layer 0 integrations. Heck yeah. And then, of course, we can bridge to additional chains, add on to some other chains as we see where the demand is and where people are interested in expanding to. Now, one thing regarding yield that I wanted to clarify is that the Dyson receipt token collateral vaults, so anything that is a Dyson receipt token that's being farmed through Dyson, will provide yield to the borrower because the Dyson receipt token is inherently yield bearing. Any vanilla or hard assets, such as wrapped ETH, will be farmed through Dyson. However, that yield will be sent to VE Preon holders in order to provide more value to VE Preon. So I did want to clarify that as well. I believe we've mentioned this, but just to reiterate, we do plan on having a stability pool auto compounding vault on Dyson, where the liquidated collateral is swapped for more star and then added back to the position. So what this does is it allows you to instantly realize the discounted collateral as yield, and then it also provides a single staking solution for star. Just bearing in mind that that yield depends on liquidations and therefore may not be, reliable yield, especially during bull markets. But another idea is to then take that Dyson vault and essentially wrap it into a token, such as Dyson Stability Pool Star or DSP Star, where the value of DSP Star increases gradually based on liquidation yield. So what we can then do is incentivize a star DSP Star liquidity pool on different dexes as well for more consistent yield with the star token. And again, this is kind of where the possibilities really start to expand, unroll exponentially for the entire ecosystem. So guys, any questions so far of all the weeks of the When Preons, and it is finally here. How are we feeling? Dude, I'm Preoning so hard. Indeed, as am I. Shout out to everyone in the Sphere team who worked on Preon, of course. The back end, the front end. It's a very nice user interface. I think it's very easy to use, very sleek, very clean. So shout out to all the hard work that went into that from everybody on the team because it looks and functions awesome. Oh, we couldn't have one AMA without a one question, could we, Killer Beans? On the note of Sphere Lend, that actually brings us to our first AMA question for this week. And it's by Mick, who said 2 questions and then proceeded to ask 3 questions. No hard feelings, it's okay. The first question was, what about if I'm farming on Dyson? Can I get a receipt token from there and collateralize? So yes, that is 100% the goal. So the example we've given already is the balancer pool tokens that can be deposited on Dyson, and Dyson will auto compound and amplify that yield through Aura. And then at the same time, you'll be able to take your Dyson receipt token as collateral on Preon. So there are a lot more collateral options via Dyson in the pipeline. And also remember that idle collateral, so these hard assets, vanilla assets like WETH, can also be farmed by Preon via Dyson through protocols such as Aave and or Sphere Lend. So that integration between Dyson and Preon can work both ways, where Dyson can be collateralized into Preon, or Preon can send collateral into Dyson in order to amplify yield for the entire ecosystem. Super cool, super exciting. And again, like, the reason that we are building all of these things in-house is really for a couple of reasons, but it kind of boils down to capital efficiency and then user confidence. Because if you can have everything under the same umbrella, that can provide a lot more user confidence in terms of, okay, where do I go for this? Well, the Sphere ecosystem has this too. So, that's one reason. The other reason is for capital efficiency. As I'm sure you've noticed, Preon has zero interest on its borrowing. And we're able to do this because there's different projects within the ecosystem that can produce yield. So we do not have to rely on any one protocol in order to produce yield within the ecosystem. This allows us to lower fees for everything within the ecosystem. Weaver dropping teasers into the AMA chat. I pushed something, but I won't tell what. Oh, good. Well, I have a feeling that many things will be pushed in the coming weeks. Gio is joining the teasing fun. Excellent, excellent. Pushing all day. Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, all I can do is smile. I mean, all I can do is smile and appreciate all the freaking hard work. Yeah, all the hard work that's been going on in the background. You guys are great. That's fantastic. All right. Well, I guess keeping forward with these questions here. The next question by Mike was, what about single staking receipt tokens? Can that be used to collateralize, such as wrap staked ETH? Well, I can certainly say that single token LSDs are planned as collateral, such as wrap staked ETH. We've discussed that before. We've also seen a lot of questions about people asking about collateralizing YL Sphere. That is not currently in the roadmap. It introduces a conflict of interest within the ecosystem where there's incentive for the price of Sphere to drop in order to profit from liquidations. So that is not currently in the roadmap. That's also not really the point of the Sphere token in terms of meta governance, all of that. Question number 3. Is it possible to have an option to manually claim rewards on Dyson rather than auto compound? Everyone has different strategies, and one of them is to diversify and buy something else with rewards. So I did want to address this. In general, remember that the goal of Sphere and Dyson is to make DeFi more accessible and easier to use for the majority of people. So for that reason, we intend to auto-compound as many vaults as we can, and certain vaults may be claim only, but these will be specific vaults. So having multiple options may ultimately be confusing rather than viewed as a convenience. You will always be able to withdraw yield to use as you best see fit for any of Dyson's vaults. However, all right, Lilo be dropping some info. What do we got? There you go. So thank you, Lilo, dropping some sneak peeks in chat here. T1, thanks for the snapshot. We can see on Retro's pools, we have a Cash Star LP and a USDC Star LP. It's starting, guys. It is starting. Ah, yes, true. With Cash auto bribes, because that is how Cash works on Retro. Heck yeah. Dubad, I appreciate the tool artwork for your icon there. Oh man, there's just so much there's just so much. It's so cool. All right, got to stay composed. Next questions are from Mello. Any plans to build on Mantle L2? So just in general, as we roll out integrations and partnerships, they will be announced. In the meantime, if you do want to see specific partnerships, please let us know in the hashtag Sphere Ideas Discord. And if enough community can back the idea and we can see it as a mutually beneficial engagement, then we can certainly consider pursuing it. So that's how I would go about with that. Next question was a good one. Will Balancer be co-marketing their BPTs for Preon so that we can get a decent TVL? I think only way Sphere gets decent revenue in TVL is when bigger partnerships do co-marketing for us as a joint venture. I don't think that's necessarily true. Overall, though, that is indeed the goal. But regardless of Balancer's co-marketing efforts, just being the first protocol to offer leveraging of VPTs is a really big deal. So rest assured that we are going to press into that edge as much as we can. Not only that, but Preon is, as I was mentioning, significantly cheaper than other CDPs out there, thanks to our zero interest borrowing and low fees, which is yet another edge in and of itself in the pursuit of capital efficiency. So rest assured that we are going to use those marketing edges to our advantage, bearing in mind that the marketing team has a very keen sense of capital efficiency, meaning that we are not willing to spend money on something kind of without significantly considering its potential impact, which is a good thing, right? We don't need to be spending excess money on marketing something that we don't actually think, or that is unlikely to actually draw in users. And as Lilo is mentioning here in AMA chat, we're in contact with the Balancer guys. Let's just make sure we can release the collateral first. Which is a very good point, Lilo. Thank you for pointing out. Which is, it comes down to also one step at a time. We have to actually have these things available, show that they are functional, show that they work, provide some analytics, these different sorts of things. So baby steps, right? Like, yes, I definitely appreciate, though, that, we're thinking about these things and that we're trying to think ahead, but we also have to realize that we got to put, one foot in front of the other in order to start to snowball these different things. It just takes time, especially initially. It can feel like a slow crawl because it is, but over time, the goal is for things to get easier and easier and snowball and snowball. Neo Viper, I once heard something about Preon being in line with the Jewish religion. Do I remember correctly? And if so, will it be advertised that way? That's certainly something we can use. I'm not too well versed on these things, but I do know that certain religions do not allow individuals to have interest, for example, with loans. So that does open the door for these individuals to be able to actually take out a loan and leverage because there is no interest within Preon. Slightly off topic T1, but I'll allow it. Preon is a type of subatomic particle. No, it is not. It's a type of star. Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. Hypothetical subatomic particles. A proposed type of compact star. I totally did not just Google that in order to answer that question. Definitely not. All right. Preon, yeah. Good point, to bad. We do not want to be Preon disease. Martin, when will Dyson rewards be refilled? We are aware of these, and should not be an issue for much longer. All right. Yeah, that is a real thing with the interest. I cannot recall the phrase for it. As I mentioned, I'm not well versed in that, but I do know it is a thing. That's where my usefulness ends. All right. So we have one more haram, forbidden in Arabic. Okay. Weaver says what I was referring to is known as haram, forbidden in Arabic. Interesting. It's so number one, obviously it's more capital efficient. It opens the door to more users, but expanding into that, we want to be as open as possible and reduce the barriers to entry as much as possible. And I think it's just kind of it makes sense to have it structured in this way. Indeed, T1. I finally sung. I finally did a song for you guys. Absolutely. That took many, many takes, and I still wasn't satisfied with the end result, but it'll have to do. I was losing my voice significantly recording that. Thanks, guys. All right, let's jump into the. Was that the last question? I see. Oh no, okay, it is. All right. M4DD had asked last question here, unless people can think of any others. There was mention of a whitelist for Star a few weeks ago. I haven't seen any links or it mentioned anywhere yet. Was there a sign up that I have missed somewhere? And thank you, T1, for responding to this ahead of time. But I've actually seen a good amount of questions and confusions in the Discord since Preon's launch, of people actually wondering the exact same thing, of what happened to the pre-sale and the whitelist, and why is Preon launched now? Did they miss the whitelist and all of that? So very important to remember that we are in the first phase of Preon's launch with the ability to collateralize and borrow the Star stablecoin. So since Star is a decentralized stablecoin, there is no need for a waitlist. It simply is minted, over collateralized, and maintained through the CDP that is Preon. It is then the second phase of Preon's launch, which will come later, and that will involve the whitelist and subsequent pre-sale of the Preon token, which is the governance token of Preon that will introduce the VE33 governance and Preon Star LP farms, as well as the OPreon emission token. And you best believe that Dyson will integrate very well with Preon's farms as well. One such example we've already discussed is with the Uniswap V3 concentrated liquidity positions, where those swap fees can be routed as bribes to VE Preon holders for amplified emissions. Again, since $1 in bribes typically yields more than $1 in emissions. Yeah, so users could have the opportunity to earn even more yield in compensation against impermanent loss than is ordinarily available, thanks to this positive amplification through bribing. Decton, is there a guide on how Preon works? Yes, indeed. Lilo posted the start here, which will direct you to the Preon Discord. You can ask, we will interact with you as best we can, answer questions, guide you through. I do have different tutorial videos, one in particular, a tutorial video about depositing, withdrawing, borrowing the Star stablecoin, paying back your loan, adjusting your loan, using the stability pool. For Friday, I plan to release a video about the peg stability module so that you can learn more about that as well. Oopsies. Where'd you see that, T1? Well, well, well. Man, I love that like low key um what am I gonna call that? That's like a sniper launch or a ninja launch. Yeah, we'll call that a ninja launch of the Wrap Stake ETH vault going live right now. So yeah, guys, that just happened. So as we mentioned, there's more and more updates going to be rolled out, and you can now see one here as we speak. Heck yeah. So just looking at this vault with the wrap staked ETH, it has the same basic parameters of the wrapped ETH vault in terms of there is a 500,000 star mint cap. Minimum net debt is 180 star, and of course the one-time fee is exactly the same. To be honest, I'm surprised we haven't seen more questions about the one-time fee because I do think that can be confusing. I think potentially because it's such a low fee that people are not concerned about it. But there are some complicated mechanics behind it. I guess, relatively straightforward. But even so, I'm surprised we haven't seen that many questions on it. But again, just thinking off the top of my head, probably because it's such a low fee that most people are not as concerned. Oh, wow, Pandu. You know how it works. No. Yeah, I might as well just explain it then. So basically, as soon as you open a position, it starts a timer, basically. And if you close the position the next day, at the bare minimum, you're going to have to pay a 7 days worth of that fee. Otherwise, it is going to increase linearly up to 0.5% after 180 days. Thanks, Weaver. After 180 days, it will not increase further. So there is a maximum on that fee. And again, this is separate from interest. There is no interest on the position. This is the one-time fee. So if you close the position before the 180 days, although you will have to pay the maximum fee up front, the remaining star that you do not have to pay will be returned back to you. All right, T1 then asked, for the PSM, is there going to be... Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Weaver. For the PSM, is there going to be any other decentralized stablecoins like DAI that can be used to swap for STAR? I see, and that sparked the conversation whereby DAI is not technically decentralized because it is backed in part by centralized stables. Whereas the reason we went with LUSD is that it is backed by decentralized stables. And that is the goal within our ecosystem, is to maintain decentralization. But there are plans to expand. That's like explaining and also expanding. There are plans to expand the PSM as well in order to, strengthen the peg ultimately. Oh, LUSD's backed by ETH. I know what I'm talking about. All right, the less expensive way to mint star is by borrowing. Correct. Yes. So by borrowing, you will, fully receive the amount of star that you borrow, just bearing in mind that you will have to pay back the relevant fees. Alrighty. OX Star, when will marketing be ramped up, or are we waiting for the right market conditions? Man, how do I go about this question? Yes. Marketing has always been there working in the background, coordinating, organizing, getting things in place, working on collaborations, partnerships, communicating with different teams, setting up all these different things. And in some regards, to your point about being in a bull market, we do have to manage our capital efficiently all the time, not just in a bear market versus bull market. We always have to manage our capital efficiently, and that means planning and using it when the time is right. But also, kind of as we talked about a little bit earlier in this AMA, is that we also have to have the right things in place to then actually go out and market. Right? If so Preon has been launched, but it is not really, everything that Preon has to offer is not really there yet. And certain things that individuals may be interested in, for example, the leveraging of BPTs, is also not up yet. So, do you want to, essentially market something that's not there yet and say, and push a lot of gas into that and say you will be able to do this? Or do you want to be able to push gas into something and say like, hey, you can do this right now if you're interested? There's a lot more value behind that, and it's a lot easier to, have conversions and interested users actually come and use Preon if you have something actively that they're interested in, rather than saying, oh, come back X amount of days, weeks, whatever later and check this out. So those are the different things that have to be balanced within that. It's a really good question. And I know it's something we've kind of talked about before, but it's really good to reiterate. I'm pretty sure I saw that was not the audit report released? It is out. Geo, thanks for expanding on the marketing. Marketing is ongoing. We believe more results will be visible as general crypto market sentiment improves. And we need to be able to increase marketing spend as lead conversion becomes more efficient. Right, so that's another good point, is the actual conversion numbers, which is something that we care about and measure, basically meaning that what money are we spending and what conversion rate of audience into actual users are we getting. So it is definitely true that in a bear market, that conversion rate is less efficient. There's less conversion. When there's more interest, it's easier to turn conversions. All different marketing information that the marketing team pays attention to very closely, because remember, our main focus is on capital efficiency. Thank you, Lilo, for linking the Preon audit. All right. Oh man, good questions this week, guys. I'm so excited. It's so cool. I just like looking at Preon. I don't know about you guys. It's just cool to look at. You guys did such a good job building this thing. I also think that the Vaults Risk board is a really cool implementation as well. I think that's really sleek. So you can actually see, and I know it serves its function in terms of demonstrating uh, if and when someone is at risk for liquidation, anyone can call upon the contract for liquidations. So it does serve that function. But just from a curiosity standpoint, I also think that it's quite interesting. I remember hearing that I remember hearing that the team was working on an auto compound for MA NFTs for Chronos. Is that still in the works or just not possible? I've heard both versions from the chat, but never from the team. So we are working on a solution for the MA NFTs, and more details will be out on that in due time. Good sir. Oh, all right. Okay, good. All right, thanks for letting us know, T1. YLOXR, when Bal or a Preon Megaspace. Thune. I mentioned earlier on, so the balancer aura integrations do require proposals. For these, of course, we are working with both teams. Both are interested and excited, but it will take some time to make sure that we can get everything in place in order for that. So the best I can give you is Thune. All right. Well, good. We are all set with the material I was hoping to cover. Um, and all set through the questions. Preon's website, there is no link to the docs. Not currently, but the documents are linked in the Preon Discord if you go to the official links. All right. One V Sphere, though. Oh, we got all the Thunes for all the wins. All right, guys. Any lasting questions? Um, how do you feel about Preon, man? I can't believe it's out after all this time. It's so sleek. It's so cool. Again, mega shout out to everyone who worked on building it. But are there any final questions before we close up for today? So I see just a couple people typing, so give them a chance. No teacup, actually. That's just my wife walking upstairs. All right. But I will most definitely have a cup of chamomile tea before I go to bed, so never worries. Oh man. All right, y'all. We've successfully derailed, so I think that was a good time as any to go ahead and end the AMA. Thank you all so much for being here, for showing up. If you do think of any questions, be sure to drop them in hashtag AMA questions. You can also drop them in the different chats, and our team will be more than happy to help you. We've got some awesome community members as well who are more than happy to help as well. So thank you to everyone who pitches in to answer questions. And it's guys, Preon, come on. Preon is here. It's super exciting. It's super cool. More stuff soon. Always remember you matter for who you are. And until next time, have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.